welcome to the Homestead. So today we're going to talk about my 5 years of using ground cloth garden fabric and the dangers of microplastics in your soil. So this is something that I hear an awful lot about because I'm in the homesteading community. There's a lot of us out there who are obviously, gardening this time of year. It's spring and there are a lot of seeds going in the ground, a lot of talk on social media about all this stuff. And so people, often debate and talk about what some of the best ways to handle their garden and get their soil in the best condition possible in order to grow the most amount of food. And with that, it always comes up, talking about ground cloth or garden fabric or whatever you want to, weed barrier fabric, whatever you want to call it. There's various names it goes by. And we've been doing this now for 5 years and it's worked very, very well. But inevitably, what about the microplastics? Zach, you're putting plastics in your soil. Okay, so I've been doing research over the last few years and I figured now would be a good time to do a video on it because I want to talk about other things that are sort of related to this coming up here in the near future. And I figured this would be a great topic to start off on. I am, for the most part, anti-plastic. For the most part. I have tried to reduce the number of plastics that I have in my life. I keep a lot of things in glass bottles, glass jars. When I save leftovers after a meal, they don't go into plastic Tupperware. We got rid of that stuff long years ago. And I put my leftovers in like mason jars, or I put it in little glass containers with wooden lids. I have those. So I've got a number of options, but I don't, we've, on many things, we have gotten out of plastics for many things, but not everything. It's just impossible to get rid of plastics for everything. It is everywhere. No, if you go to the store and you buy broccoli and you put it in a plastic bag that they have there for you, it's like so many of our things that we get today are just in plastics. Our cars are made of plastic. Everything's made of plastic. And no doubt the reason why we have microplastics everywhere and why this has become a concern and why some studies out there today have shown that they're well within our bodies. So I saved a video the other day of this fire that took place. It was a battery plant. I believe it was in Texas, but I'm not sure. I forgot. But anyway, all of this smoke coming up out of all of these fires, whenever this stuff happens, you remember the recycle center that caught fire, I think it was in Georgia or somewhere, a few years back. All of those plastics, all that, it's putting tons of plastics in the air. And all of that lands on Earth. It's falling to the ground. It's here. You're not even seeing it, but it's here. And, what do you do with that? There's nothing you can do about it. What about the stuff that they're supposedly, they may or may not be spraying in the skies? I got to be careful because this is YouTube here, right? So, what is all that? There is not 1 ounce of ground on planet Earth that you can test that you will not find microplastics in. It's everywhere. There's no way to avoid it. And part of me is like, well, since there's no way to avoid it, you just do the best you can and you go on. And that's really what it comes down to, because I'm seeing a lot of people online have the mentality of something like, well, the water's contaminated, the ground's contaminated, everything's contaminated. Why bother? And then they go to the drive-thru at McDonald's to get their food. It's like, yes, don't use this as an excuse not to grow your food. Is it going to be contaminated by microplastics? Probably. Is there macroplastics in your soil? Probably. Is ground cloth, garden fabric, things like this adding more microplastics to your soil? Probably. I've only seen one study. As far as I know, there's only been one study, and that was in 2020 by a laboratory in Italy that concluded that plants actually uptake microplastics into their roots and get into, into the plants. Broccoli, things like carrots. I think carrots were one of the ones. I don't know. There was a study about it, and so I've only seen one study that shows that, and more studies are obviously needed. And I don't know really. My point being on all this is, don't let these things deter you from growing your own food. Don't let these things deter you from raising your own animals and doing what you can to be more self-sufficient and having a healthier lifestyle by growing these foods. I think for the most part, you're gonna have a better overall food product by growing it yourself, no matter what your soil condition is. In my opinion, the earth has a fantastic way of healing itself and getting rid of things and putting things back into the ground. You realize that everything we have here on earth, whether it's plastic, metal, chemical, whatever, all came from the earth originally. And the earth has a fantastic way of breaking that down over time, sometimes longer than time frames than others, but returning that back to the ground. I remember years ago, it was this time of year, the springtime, when you can go out and you can find morels. I was down as a young man searching for morel mushrooms on the Merrimack River. That's where I grew up at. It was South St. Louis County on the Merrimack River lowlands down there. And you would walk around and try to find mushrooms. And every rainy season, spring and fall, the floodwaters would come up over the Merrimack and would bring all kinds of trash and garbage and all kinds of stuff. It would litter the entire river bottoms. And as I was walking through that area, I noticed all kinds of certain trash and debris and things that were washed up over those rainy seasons and then allowed to sit and rest and just decay. Many of those things made of plastic, made of metals, all these different things were just breaking down and decaying rather quickly. And I noticed that one was like an aluminum can and it was like falling apart. It was like degrading and just things don't take as long as they say they do to break down. Let me just say that. Oh, these things, it'll take thousands of years before, it breaks down. It's not true. I saw lots of different things and plastics, metals, whatever, in various states of decay, walking along those river bottoms. And I realized long ago that was a bunch of lies. So do these ground fabrics or these garden cloths put microplastics? Yes, probably. But as far as my research has shown, the polypropylene woven type garden fabrics break down much smaller, are much at a less, what's the phrase I'm using? They don't break down as much, okay? And the other ones, the polyvinyls, the ones you find at a lot of the big box stores, those break down much faster and they're much more apt to put microplastics in your soil, okay? So the difference between polyvinyl, bad, polypropylene, much better, much less bad. Much less bad. That's how I look at it. I'm not going to stop growing with it because I think that it's a fantastic way to keep a weed-free garden. Now, if you're going to use landscape fabric, the way to do this is to not. Most of the videos I've seen out there on YouTube who say, oh, you don't want to use this stuff, it's horrible. They all talk about people who put down the landscape fabric and then they put mulch on top of it. Don't do that. That's just crazy. All you're doing is allowing those seeds of weeds and things like that to get in there and then root anyway. What you do every year is you roll this stuff out, and then after the end of the fall, when your garden is done, you roll it back up and you put new things on that soil, new things on that garden that's going to add more to the soil, add more growing ability to the soil, your mulches, your manures, your fertilizers, all this stuff. You're going to lay it down, and then in the springtime, you're going to put those ground covers back over your garden again just to get ready. And your garden is going to be very nice and soft all season long. I've often said on my channel that if you're walking on your garden and it doesn't feel like you're walking on a waterbed, you're doing it wrong. You're really doing it wrong. And again, I'm going to have more videos coming out on this, talking specifically about all the wrong things gardeners do. But that's one of the things they do. And the reason why it's so hard when you walk on your soil is because you're tilling it. Year after year, you're not allowing any of the microbes and biology and the myceliums and all these things to create networks under your soil that make it very soft and easy to grow in. And ground covers do a fantastic job, if you do it right, of allowing that soft soil to just be there and allow things to grow very easily. And that's been my experience. I continue to do lasagna layering in the fall and in the winter, and I put that ground cover right back on it, and it's just very soft supple soil that I can use to grow things in very easily. Anyway, I'd like to know your thoughts on this. I know this is a controversial topic. There are some people out there way more concerned about plastics than others. I am one of those people who are concerned, but I also realize you're not getting away from this. It's in the air you breathe. It's everywhere. Again, there's not 1 ounce of soil anywhere on planet Earth that has not been infected with microplastics. It's everywhere. And you're not going to escape this. You're not going to try to grow. But here's the deal. Don't let this be an excuse to not do anything. Don't let this be an excuse for you to say, oh, I'm just not going to do it, and then buy your food at the grocery stores or at the drive-thrus and all this other stuff. You're going to grow a much healthier product, even if you're growing in microplastic contaminated soil, even if you're growing in ground cloth. But again, there's different types of ground cloth. Get the polypropylene, the woven polypropylene ground cloth. It's listed as organic for certain reasons because it doesn't put off as much microplastics, it doesn't leach chemicals. It's just a much healthier product, but it also keeps a weed-free garden. Makes it much easier to keep a weed-free garden than just not using it, using a back to Eden. We'll talk about that in other videos and other things that people used to do or people still do. So that's my recommendation. I like the ground cloth, the woven polypropylene. And while microplastics is a concern, it's not going to keep me from growing my own food. What do you think? I'd love to hear your comments below. Please share this video with other people because I know there are a lot of people out there concerned about microplastics today. And should I not use ground cloth? What kind of ground cloth do I use? We talk about all that in this video. So please share it on social media. That really helps get the word out of the channel. Hit that like button before you go. Leave a comment for the algorithm. I really appreciate that. And also be sure to check out our events page over at anamericanhomestead.com. I'll be going to a number of speaking events coming up here soon throughout the summer. And I want to be able to meet you and share some of these things with you in person. It'd be fantastic. That's why you can get some of our merchandise, Farm Fresh Butt Nuggets. We sell these shirts and other shirts at the events that we go to. Farm Fresh Butt Nuggets, one of our best sellers. So, all right, guys. See you next time on the Homestead. Bye.
Have you ever gone to a health food store and seen all those small bottles of probiotics in your cooler section? Man, can they be pricey. Are you really getting all you need to improve your gut health from those expensive bottles? How viable are they? Most of those products claim to give you between 8 and 15 strains of gut-healthy healing bacteria. Think of each strain of bacteria as a different factory in your gut. Each factory is responsible for breaking down that food in its own way. The more factories you have, the more the food is broken down and the easier the food is absorbed and digested by the body. A 2018 study published by the National Library of Medicine shows that one fermented head of cabbage can produce up to 114 strains of beneficial bacteria. That's a lot more food factories than you're getting from that expensive pill bottle. And that's just cabbage. Imagine the probiotics when you add garlic, onions, pepper, and more to that ferment. PerfectPickler.com and its home fermentation kits provide you with everything you need to get started making your own gut-healthy food factories from the comfort of your own kitchen. PerfectPickler.com even provides a jam-packed recipe book with many of our kits. Visit PerfectPickler.com and start fermenting your own veggies to begin your journey to better gut health. That's PerfectPickler.com.
Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of An American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the homestead that we make here on the homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. I'll wait.